What's the one thing you regret doing for your wedding day? Not preparing a speech. I thought I'd just go up, thank everyone for coming, and sit back down. Short and sweet, get it out the way. That's exactly what I did, without mentioning my parents or my wife. Inviting people I didn't really want to invite. They just cost you money, you don't interact with them at all, and they usually don't bring a nice gift to make up for it. Except for letting all of the divorced aunts and uncles bring +1s. Because that led to a whole jealousy competition train that was extremely entertaining. I regret the coordinator they gave us for the ceremony. Dude got flustered and started second guessing everything right before the ceremony. Like he somehow forgot how a wedding works at the last moment, when all of our guests were there. OMG, what song do you want to play while she walks down the aisle? I dunno dude, the one everyone walks down the aisle to, the wedding song. The one we already told you to play. I ended up taking charge and sorting everything out. Really wish I could have just gone with the flow on my big day. Not taking a picture. We just did a quick wedding for legal purposes with my friend presiding and aunt and uncle as witnesses. It was a nice little sweet ceremony that lasted about 10 minutes over a nice area with a view before we went to dinner. Didn't realize we hadn't taken any pictures until like a week later when we wanted to show someone. Whoops. I've been married for 16 years now, so this is a little old school. We bought a bunch of disposable cameras and set them all over the place at our reception with a note on them that said take some pictures. At the end of the night we collected all the cameras and had the film developed. Most of them turned out really cool, and we got some pictures we would have never thought of taking. The regret comes in me underestimating some of my friends' ability to be adults for one night and ended up with a lot of dick pics also. Lol. I'm guessing a lot of people getting married today could just set up a Instagram account and just have everyone upload cell pics to it. My number one regret is telling people not to take pictures. I know it sounds dumb, but it is much worse than that. In our agreement with our photographer, she told us that other cameras were not allowed as the flash from another camera could ruin our pictures. So we politely told people to refrain from taking pictures and explained the situation. We had a great wedding, and the photographer even sent an extra photographer to work the wedding, 2 instead of 1. A few weeks after we tried contacting her for the photos, we got ghosted. We tried for about a year to track her down. We were still willing to pay for the photos, even unedited. We just wanted the photos. Fortunately some people didn't get the message, so we have a few, 10 to 20, photos from our wedding. The worst part was that someone had contacted my wife through FB 2 weeks before the wedding warning us about her, but we decided to take the risk because there probably was no way to get another photographer in that kind of time. When she showed for the date we were relieved and thought we dodged a bullet. Not paying for a cleaning company at my venue. My wife and wedding party had to still 2 hours later to clean up to get our deposit back. Edit. Holy hell, this kind of blew up. To go in a little further, me and my wife got married through a venue company that owned a few venues throughout the area. This one happened to be a restored barn. The company allowed us to either pay a $400 or something, it was a few years ago, cleaning deposit, or to pay a $200 or something cleaning fee. The deposit was refunded depending on how well you cleaned up after. To save more money for the honeymoon, we chose deposited us, and the wedding party stayed 2 hours later to clean up the venue. I don't know if this was a US thing, only really looked at the one venue and my wife fell in love with it. The $200 cleaning fee was so they could pay another company to clean. Not hiring a photographer. We thought we'd save money and just ask friends to take lots of pictures. They took some, but I have maybe 5 pictures worth looking at. No pictures of the cake or table settings. I kind of remember what they look like. The only decent pic of my husband and I has our flower girl in it. She's sweet and I love her, but it looks like she's our kid. Every time people see the photo there, like I didn't know you had an older child. Hire a photographer, people. Letting other people help pay. As soon as that happens they take over the wedding. Guest list, decor, cake, everything. Edit. Wow, this post blew up. I guess people have different experiences, but let me lay out some of mine. Uncle offered to pay for the limo. Great. But it turned out to be this busted 1980s limo with a spider-webbed window and no hubcaps. What looked like a homeless driver. He literally went on Craigslist and got the cheapest one with no research. We called an Uber. In-laws offered to pay for half of the catering, which is how our guest list was 70 people, but 200 plus showed up. Would have been fine if they would have told us, so we could adjust catering, but no. We had to have the caterers adjust on the fly and drag some tables out of storage. And then we had to order pizza for the rest. People we actually wanted there were eating fucking pizza on dusty tables. Other uncle offered to pay for airfare for the honeymoon, which is how our 18-day trip turned into 12 days, because that was the cheapest ticket. Brother-in-law paid for the wine, which actually turned out fine. But we didn't have enough because of all the completely unexpected guests. All we wanted was a smallish celebration with 75 people and to have an awesome wedding. But we wound up with a big celebration that was kind of mediocre and really stressful. In-laws actually told us we could not say hi to our actual friends because then we'd have to go to each table and say hi to everyone to be fair, which would have took 2 hours, which caused an argument. Maybe your families aren't that type, but I wish we had just did our own thing and not accepted any help. The preacher started coaching me on what's next as my gorgeous bride-to-be was walking down the aisle. I did not get to take in what was the most beautiful woman I ever saw walk down the aisle because I was trying to pay attention to what he was saying. My preacher made me tear up. He kept whispering at me while at the altar, "Look at her. Right now she's the most beautiful woman in the world and you get to spend the rest of your life with her. You are a lucky man." By the time she made it to the altar, she saw me about to weep like a schoolgirl and had no clue why. Renting a nice room in a fancy hotel and then expecting to have sex when we were both just absolutely yucking exhausted. Don't get me wrong, my wedding day was possibly the best day of my entire life, but it would have been just the teensiest bit better if we'd gotten some charming bed and breakfast and not forced ourselves to have tired sex at like 1 in the morning. Turns out fancy ass hotel rooms are basically just like a clean version of non-fancy ass hotel rooms. Not that my poor ass would have known that beforehand. Not having a good breakfast. We got married early in the day on a beach and all I could think about was how much I wanted a breakfast sandwich with eggs, cheese, and bacon on a toasted English muffin with just a touch of hot sauce. Right before our first dance I got nervous about dancing in front of a crowd due to a middle school dance trauma, and, I'm not proud to admit, I shit my pants. Full blown nervous anal blast. Like a fire hose attached to a tank of chocolate pudding. My bride found me hiding in a toilet stall and had to fetch me new pants. I still can't look her brother square in the eye and know he didn't go pantsless for the rest of the wedding. Haven't gotten married yet, but one thing people forget is that they are actually supposed to enjoy their wedding. I've been to a couple weddings, and in most of them the bride and groom are running like chickens without heads, trying to make everything perfect. Your wedding is supposed to be the best day of your life, not a miserable event. Don't get stressed over the little things and enjoy yourself. I'm getting married in January, and a lady at my parish cornered me and my fiance recently and told us to remember to enjoy our wedding day and to make sure we eat the food. She volunteered to be the person to get us privacy when we need it. Basically, if we want to eat or need a 10-minute break, we let her know and she'll guard our table and let us have a few minutes to just rest. I suggest finding someone to do that for you. If I could go back in time and do it over, I'd have included dancing with my dad this time. The story: we got engaged and started planning a wedding that was to take place 1 year later. 2 months after engagement, my father was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. We moved up the wedding by 6 months and thankfully were able to get our deposits back. My aunt had a large home, and to spend as little as possible, my parents needed all the money they could to pay the bills. Since my dad couldn't work due to his treatment, and he'd owned his own business, we got married at a home with 70 guests plus a bridal party of 12. Husband has 3 brothers, I have 1, and both of our best friends are men. So that was 6 guys, and had to have 6 girls then. It was a bit crowded, so we didn't have room to plan for dancing. My father walked me up the aisle for the ceremony, and that was my goal in moving the wedding forward. I wish I'd have had is do a father/daughter dance, though, even if we didn't have other dancing. My dad died 3 months later. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. If you would like to see more, feel free to subscribe.